All right, everybody knows that Frisbee is about flicking your wrist, and unfortunately that's not necessarily the case. And we'd like to talk about that. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the flick myth. Let's just jump right in. What I'd like you to do is to make a fist, very tight, okay? And nice tight fist, and I want you to flick your wrist. Okay? It's not very powerful at all. Let's loosen the fist and flick our wrist. And we can see that it's quite a bit more powerful. If we straighten our fingers, loosen our wrist, we have a more powerful flick still. But still not exactly what we need in order to have a bunch of spin delivered to that Frisbee. Now, what I'd like you to take a look at here is instead of flicking the wrist, let's think about stopping the arm. Again, with that loose fingers, get your arm moving and stop your arm. And now we can see a flick that is an entirely different sport. Okay, and the reason that I'm flicking up, essentially flicking towards my thumb, is that when I change to this here, it's going to be the same angle. So there is no flick in Frisbee. What there is a stopping of the arm. And if we take a look, let me grab a couple of discs here. At all of our throws, okay, what we have is arm going forward, arm stopping. Loose wrist, disc is flicked. Overhand wrist flip. We have arm going forward, arm stopping. And as a matter of fact, it's going to be even a little more than the arm stopping. We're actually going to pull our arm back. And that is where the flick comes from. If I just flicked my wrist, it's not very powerful. But if I stop my arm, hugely powerful. We can go to the sidearm or the flick or the forehand throw, whatever you want to call it. What we have is we have arm going forward, arm stopping, pulling back. That's where the spin comes from. I do have another piece of equipment that I can use to illustrate this point. If you have a riding crop, or anything that is going to flop back and forth, a switch, cut off of a tree, anything like that, you can use that as well. A flick of the wrist, do you hear that? That is one whoosh. When we want to impart spin on a disc, we want to pull back in order to get two whooshes. And we can see that the arm moves forward, the arm stops, the wrist loose, allows that to flick, and then the pulling back increases the flick. We can do that with a backhand-like throw as well. And again, if I flick my wrist, that's all I got. But if I get my arm going forward and stop and pull back, I can really deliver a major, major amount of spin to that Frisbee. So, again, make a fist and flick real tight. You got nothing. Loosen the fist, flick, you got more. Loosen the fingers, you got more still. And then if we get our arm going and stop the arm with the loose wrist, it's a huge deal. I'm going to demonstrate this the way that I normally demonstrate it in a seminar environment on April. So, one sec. All right, and flick your wrist. Tight fist, and flick your wrist. Loose fist, flick. Fingers out, and flick. Again, more powerful still. You don't have any wrist problems, do you?
No.
Okay, nice and loose. And look at the difference there. It isn't even the same sport. Yay!